Welcome back to another episode of Ask the Expert. I'm Steve Strum. I have a really interesting opportunity to sit here today with Tyler Beaver from Executive Strategy out of Washington, D.C. Well, hello, sir. How are you today?
Doing well, sir. How are you?
I am doing good. What we had is an interesting discussion, and we were kind of show prepping today about who you are, what you do, and some of the things that you're doing in a technological evolution that incorporates drones that seems to be evolving minute by minute. Tell our audience a little bit about what is executive strategy and what is it that you're doing up in Washington, D.C. for the benefit of our great country.
Frankly, I do a lot of different things, but right now I'm keenly focused on drones and lobbying, for the drone sector and for the drone industry kind of as a whole, as we push into a new kind of sector in the United States where drones are part of a lot of Americans' daily lives. And so setting those policies now and getting those right, is a critical focus of mine, because I think that that's going to affect us in a large way moving into the future. So working with various drone companies and ensuring that those policies being developed and being analyzed today, are viewed in the correct light, and the people understand that are writing those policies and the people that are passing those policies, kind of what the implications are of those policies they're working with today.
So we are sitting on the precipice of another industrial revolution. I talk to a lot of folks about kind of like the evolution of our society, right? The first industrial revolution, obviously the industrial revolution, where we had things like the steam engine, printing press. Then we kind of evolved into the second industrial revolution, which is the evolution of the assembly line, right? The Model Ford with Henry Ford. And then we had the advent of computers, completely revolutionized everything. Now we have advanced robotics, AI. The world we are living in the future, literally in the future, and it comes with its own subset of problems. Just a couple of weeks ago, we had somebody in the studio who adapted the use of drones for high-tech pressure washing for buildings up to like 65, 70 feet, something like that, where they literally plug the hose in, and off the drone goes and washing the building. But you're working on a much more expanded universe about the implications of drones and things that people don't even think about, like personal space. So what are some of the challenges that you're trying to help, literally create policy for the responsible use of drones and for the people that you're lobbying for? It's a marvelous technology. What are some of the things that you're seeing as far as advantages, challenges out in this drone space, knowing that this is such a new thing?
I would say to start off with that at the moment, the drone space is kind of controlled and managed by the defense sector, understandably so. But I'm trying to ensure that more than just the defense sector has a say kind of in what the future of drone policy looks like. One of the biggest issues right now is just the lack of drone policy across all the jurisdictions in the United States. There was a bill that's developed, currently still in circulation, Senate Bill 1249, that discusses allowing essentially all 90,000 plus jurisdictions in the United States to set, what that policy is. Well, that would create a logistical nightmare for, a drone company that wants to do, let's say, commercial delivery of products across jurisdictional lines. And so ensuring that a foresight is given to, what is the drone, state of business today? What is the drone state of business in 10 years? And how can we focus on that now to allow for the proliferation of the drone space and the drone business to grow in a large way, but also be controlled and managed to not allow, safety issues, that sort of thing, for commercial aircraft, those sort of issues as they develop, moving forward.
Yeah, you think about the obvious thing, you hear about drones, right? Hard to not look on the internet, right? Where you hear about people talk about the spy drone, right? Like get this camera following around, which is clearly a concern. But then you're also thinking about the safety concern that you had mentioned, the commercial airspace. And if there's 90,000 different jurisdictions and there's a package delivery company, and when people think of drones, they think of, these little toys that kids drive around, but there's some pretty large drones, not military, but like the commercial stuff, like they're the size of this coffee table here. And they literally
Right.
pick up a few hundred pounds and go deliver a box to you. That could be problematic if you are in the way of a landing zone of an airport, just for people to kind of understand that, right? You think about the bird strikes and the things that happen to planes when they're landing and taking off. You throw a few hundred pounds
Right.
drone into their engine, and that could really ruin the day. So if I understand that correctly, you're trying to help both the military and the expanding commercial applications of drone technology, but utilizing it in a way that preserves our freedom, preserves our right of privacy, but then also that we're operating in a safe manner so you don't have just complete chaos with all these drones flying around and there's not real clear sets of regulation in order to manage what's appropriate. Does that kind of encapsulate?
Well, and then not even only that. I mean, then you have the commercial side, for the drone shows, which is something that's just developing here in the United States. That's something you see a lot more internationally at the moment. But a very large market is developing around these drone shows. Well, most of them are between 200 and 600 feet. So if you have regulation that is stipulating everything below 400 feet, then you're going to have issues with being able to put on these drone shows. And so there's just a lot of different facets involved when it comes to developing these policies and making sure that everyone is accounted for, and that those businesses will be able to continue, and we won't be putting anybody out of business, by a simple policy.
And as we kind of take this one out, it's always a really fun question that I love to ask people that are really, you're really on the cutting edge of something that has never existed before. If you look out 5 years into the future with the appropriate policies and controls and all of the things, where do you see the adaptation of the use of drones in our modern everyday life by 2030? Like, what does that vision look like in your purpose?
Well, I think that we're going to have a lot of adaptation. I mean, essentially, you're looking at a cheaper logistics cost. You have several problems right now. One major problem is rural health. That it has a large potential to help save. Rural health is a major issue because there's not hospitals, there's not pharmacies in a lot of central United States rural locations. And so, if you had a mechanism to allow that patient to receive instructions and to receive, medication, some sort of device, whatever the case may be. Those are some of the ways that drones are going to be brought in and will kind of create the future. Now you're already seeing that in, countries like Indonesia, where they have thousands of different islands and they have an extreme logistics cost. And so I think we'll see some of that adaptation here in the United States as well.
That is fascinating. I could go on or out. One of my kids is a young man who's in robotics. And so I have a little unique perspective on it because I see this stuff every day. It is just absolutely amazing what you're trying to do to help our country be able to do things, right? To be able to have this technology, but do it in a responsible way. And I'm sure there is just so much content that we could cover. What we'll do is we'll make sure to put your content, website, stuff like that on our website, which is thedailynewsnetwork.com. That way people can come check it out and kind of keep tabs on it. It's just fascinating. Some of the things you share with us. Thank you for taking the time to kind of walk us through, technology evolution, great, but making sure that it's done the right way, I think it's probably.
Yeah, you've got to have the supporting policy.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for joining us today. I really appreciate that. Guys, what a cool interview. If you want to come out, check out Tyler at the Executive Strategies Company and some of the things that he's doing in DC for you. There's a little share button somewhere in this area. If you like that episode, share the episode. Remember to always live with gratitude.